PayPal has been pushing to make its service to a versatile financial tool rather than merely a payment button on a website. But competition is strong, and PayPal's latest forecast fell short of estimates. Joining us exclusively from the Goldman Sachs Technology and Internet Conference in San Francisco is PayPal COO Bill Ready. Bill, thanks much for joining us. The company obviously is showing some incredible strength here, your business outside of eBay. But I think a lot of questions from investors still is how is PayPal going to fill that hole that eBay has created? We've seen the stock still down more than 10% since your announcement. What's your response?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think, one of the things that's been widely misunderstood is that we're actually renewing our relationship with eBay for the PayPal branded portion of purchases on eBay, which is the vast majority of the volume we handle for eBay today. So we've extended that, we're extending that another 5 years. And so we've had a long history with eBay. We'll continue to have a long and great partnership with eBay. But it's also the case that when we spun out of eBay, the premise of that was not just about how we'd serve eBay on an ongoing basis, but also about how we could serve the rest of the market. And one of the things you've seen is our business has accelerated as we've been able to more completely serve the rest of the market. Our business outside of eBay grew at 33% plus in Q4 year on year, much faster than e-commerce overall. So we're taking share tremendously in e-commerce overall as we're able to more completely serve the rest of the market, which is what was the premise of the spin out from eBay 2.5 years ago. So we feel great about that and great about how we're extending our relationship with eBay.
Right. And Bill, but the question is, though, is there still a risk here that some of the other partners that you work with are going to kind of follow what they see with eBay and saying, look, I want more payment options, I want to bring in more revenue, and I want to lower costs? I mean, how does PayPal deal with this kind of, I guess, potential trend here where some of these merchants are going in-house now?
Well, so this is actually how we service most merchants today. This is something that people have misunderstood a bit as well. The eBay was quite unique in that we were still performing a lot of the services of a retailer, really only for eBay. We don't really service any of our other customers that way. We service our other customers to fully equip them. And we have actually, in the last 2 years, signed 20 plus major partnerships. Facebook, Google, Apple, Alibaba, Baidu, many others are really coming to PayPal because our digital wallet buying experience has become a must-have in the mobile world. Our conversion rate tends to be twice as high as our nearest competitor and much higher than people entering a card online. So that's why you're seeing our consumer growth accelerating, our merchant growth accelerating, and us growing much faster than e-commerce overall, because our one-touch buying experience that is now 80 million plus consumers and more than double what it was a year ago is really becoming the way consumers want to buy everywhere. And so that's been a great tailwind for our business overall, and also a great foundation for why we're striking partnerships with most of the fastest growing marketplaces in the world, as well as many of the fastest growing retailers and e-commerce companies in the world.
It's a great story and it's a great message, but it seems that maybe investors are not fully aware of it. So what about your brand? What about marketing? Where do you most need to put your efforts to make sure the world sees exactly what you're talking about?
Well, I think if you look at our objective results, the world is seeing that. So we had a fantastic Q4, a fantastic year, and our consumer growth, for example, was up 60% year on year from what it had been the prior year. So we're seeing an increasing number of consumers, and our engagement with each consumer is increasing year on year as well. So we're getting more consumers than ever signing up for PayPal, and those consumers have deeper and deeper relationships with PayPal than they've ever had before. The reason for that is that on the mobile device, where the consumer is spending the vast majority of their time, the PayPal buying experiences are far superior to typing in a card online, or even the other competition that's been out there. There's a lot of third-party research on that PayPal converts much higher than our competitors. So that's been a great accelerant to our business and a place where we're performing really well.
Bill, break that down for us, though. Is this a U.S. story? Is this a global story? Do you have parts of the world where you want to grow more? There's a lot of competition for pay wallets, et cetera, in China, the rest of the world. So tell us, again, break it down.
Yeah, so we're in 200 plus markets around the world. And one of the things you see from major partners that are coming to us is that they're looking for access to the customers that we have around the world. So for example, Alibaba that we're working with, we're allowing them to go access, our consumers, in 200 plus markets around the world. As they think about how they sell more outside of China, we're helping them to connect with buyers in our 200 million plus consumers that we have elsewhere in the world. We recently announced a partnership with Baidu, where we're helping them get their consumers in China to the 18 million plus merchants that we have elsewhere in the world. So this is very much a global phenomenon, and something where we see our business accelerating globally. We have more than half our business outside the U.S. So the move to mobile is a global phenomenon, and our strength in mobile is really making us an attractive partner to not only the biggest tech platforms in the world, but the biggest global tech platforms in the world, as we help to go connect buyers and sellers in 200 plus markets all over the globe.
But, we've seen just how big these Alipays and WeChat Pays are in China. I mean, a lot of these are trying to translate that into beyond the country, of course. So you actually said there's actually synergies between PayPal and some of these payment platforms in the country?
Well, we're working with, as I mentioned, Alibaba to help them connect with, buyers elsewhere in the world, and we're working with Baidu to help connect them with merchants elsewhere in the world. So we've found that our ability to find unique ways to partner with other major tech companies has become quite prolific, and the reason for that is that we're very unique. That we're the only place in the world where you can find a network of 200 million plus consumers, 18 million plus merchants, and the ability to control the buying experience end to end and do that globally. There's some players that can do that in a region. There's some players that can do parts of that, but not all of it. But to do all of that together, control the whole buying experience, and be able to do that in 200 markets around the world, we're just quite unique in that. That creates some overlaps between us and other companies, but it also means that we have lots of places where we can work together, and we've been finding more and more ability to do that, as mentioned with the partnerships that I was discussing.
Right. Bill, crypto, I mean, that's long been touted, I guess, as a replacement for PayPal. Is this an existential threat to the company, or do you actually see some opportunity there too?
I mean, we've been working with crypto since the early days of crypto. We certainly stay very close to it. The really interesting thing that I think about with crypto is that much of the activity has been around sort of the currency side of it versus the technology side of it in the blockchain. And while there's a lot of potential speculation and things like that happening with the currency, which has generally made it not very viable for commerce. It's a public ledger. You can see there's very little commerce happening on, say, Bitcoin, for example. It's a public ledger. You can go see that. And part of that is the volatility in the currency. But the other part of it is that when you look at what's really unique about blockchain in particular, is that it solves this notion of distributed trust. And I think people have been trying to go take this great technology that solves a unique problem in distributed trust and apply it to places where there's well-functioning central brokerages of trust. And there, it doesn't really perform as well. I think you'll really start to see more breakthrough when people apply blockchain to things that could really only be solved with distributed trust. And that's generally not a replacement for a well-functioning central brokerage that would exist today, but entirely new things that might not have been possible previously. I still think those things are out there, but it's very early days.
Early days indeed. Bill Ready, thank you so much for joining us, PayPal COO.